10 insane celebrity homes. Number 10. Kim Ye. Best known by their one-name moniker, Kim Kardashian and Kanye West are one of the most famous celebrity couples on the planet. Is it any surprise that they live in a home that most of us could only dream of spending even one night in? Though the couple has been in the news for negative reasons as of late, Kim being robbed and Kanye for having some supposed mental breakdown, at least they have a palace in which to spend their idle time. The couple purchased this massive Hidden Hills abode for $20 million, but weren't entirely satisfied with it, so they renovated the place. Now the 5-acre property, or tiny town, reportedly includes a 2-story playroom in case a 1-story room fully devoted to children wasn't enough, a full-size movie theater, a gym, and a basketball court. No rap mogul's house is complete without a sound studio, and of course, Kim had to have a full spa on site, so those were built as well. They even bought their neighbor's property to make room for all of the additions they wanted. North and St. West are either the most fortunate or the most soulless children on the planet. Number 9. Donald Trump. Trump and his wife Melania may not be staying at their $100 million 66th floor penthouse in Trump Tower, New York, as much now as they will be taking up residence at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue for the next 4 years. While the White House is lovely, Trump has plenty of reasons to not want to move out of his Big Apple residence. The ridiculous apartment is 3 stories whose walls, floors, and columns are covered in marble. The platters, vases, and furniture are accented with gold. Greek statues and art dominate the interior, as well as flattening, grandiose portraits of Trump and his family. Residing so high up means that the penthouse is witness to an amazing view of the city, specifically Central Park and the Manhattan skyline. Hopefully, the president won't be thinking too much about his lavish digs while he's busy with his new job. Number 8. Sinatra's Paradise. In a nod to his character in the movie From Here to Eternity, Sinatra named this property in Palm Desert, California, Via Maggio. The property is 7.5 acres and features 3 buildings that have a combined total of 8 bedrooms, 3 kitchens, 9 fireplaces, and 12.5 bathrooms. The property also includes a lighted tennis court and a helipad. Sinatra commissioned the property in the 1960s as a place to get away from the hustle and bustle of being a celebrity. Sitting over 4,000 feet above the Coachella Valley, Old Blue Eyes picked a good spot to suit his needs. The entertainers passed away in 1998, and the second owners currently have the house for sale at a price of just under $4 million. Number 7. Lil Wayne. Weezy has been trying to sell his Miami Beach property for 2 years now without success. He lowered the price over the course of 2016 from $18 million to $12 million. Celebrities often find it difficult to sell their homes, especially if they have made modifications to suit their specific tastes. The rapper's house is 15,101 square feet, has 9 bedrooms and bathrooms, a professional recording studio, movie theater, and a rooftop skate park. The beautiful open interior home sits on the water in Miami Beach. In August of 2016, a prankster called the cops saying that someone had been shot and was bleeding at the home. Police arrived to find Lil Wayne asleep, and after finding nothing in the home, left without further incident. It was the second time such an incident has happened since Wayne purchased the house, and could be why he seems so desperate to sell the place. Number 6. Ashton and Mila. The couple made famous by co-starring in That 70s Show has enjoyed the fruits of their labor. With a daughter on the way, the couple purchased this $10 million home on April 1st, 2014 that is stupider than Kutcher's That 70s Show character. The house is on a private street in a gated community in Beverly Hills that is well away from paparazzi. The home is 7,300 square feet and has 3 huge bedrooms and 4 bathrooms. Admittedly, its dimensions are slightly dwarfed by the other insane pads on this list, but when's the last time you saw either of these people in a good movie? Number 5. Enya. When you look at the fact that Enya has sold more records than One Direction and calls Bono her neighbor, you would assume that the Irish singer has a pretty insane lifestyle. And you would be right, though not in the ways you might imagine. Despite being world famous, the singer has only been spotted in public a handful of times in the last decade, and apparently men find her dark and challenging. She lives in a small castle in Ireland as a recluse. Apparently, her only constant company is cats, a lot of cats that live on the property. When she moved in the late 90s, Enya had the entire house redone. Her bedroom opens to the Irish Sea, and she has incredible views of the Wicklow Mountains on one side and the Dalkey Islands on the other. Her music and successes are unique and will never happen again. Based off her living situation, she could also be called the world's wealthiest cat lady. Number 4. Howard Stern. $200,000 for hurricane shutters? $10 million on renovations alone? No problem for the most successful radio personality of all time. Stern reportedly spent $52 million to purchase this insane mansion in Palm Beach, Florida in early 2013 and had those refurbishments done in early 2016. The specialty shutters weren't cheap, and so, as you might guess, they are very heavy duty and able to withstand winds and debris impact of up to 276 miles per hour. They are also remote controlled and cover every one of the house's many windows. The home itself is even more remarkable. The mansion boasts 12.5 bathrooms, in case the first 12 are taken, 5 bedrooms, and sprawls over 19,000 feet across the Florida beachfront. Number 3. Dwayne Wade and Gabby Union. Dwayne Wade is a star guard for the Chicago Bulls. Gabrielle Union is a very well-known actress. The couple is, by all accounts, very happy together, and with salaries that could afford them cribs like this, who could blame them? The ecstatic couple got married on August 30th, 2014, and leased this ridiculous castle for the occasion. The house was priced at $10.9 million before it was delisted shortly before the wedding. The property was built by architect Charles Seeger for himself and includes a giant landlocked moat and formal gardens that surround the property. Number 2. Bill Gates. Though the richest man in the world is known as a charitable man who spends his money frugally, he opened his wallet a little bit to build his dream home. The home cost a record-setting $63 million to build and took 7 years to complete. The property lies in the hills of Medina, Washington, and is surrounded by nature. The estate has a variety of garages, including an underground cave that can hold 10 cars, 6 kitchens tended by a 24-hour on-call chef, a 1,500 square foot theater, a 2,100 square foot private library, and a massive aquarium. This home is incredible. But of course, it's not the only property the billionaire owns on the West Coast. He also bought a ranch in California for $18 million that has a private racetrack. Number 1. Mukesh Ambani. Ambani is no celebrity. He's the chairman of Reliance Industries, a gigantic conglomerate holding company in India. But he is a billionaire and had this crazy pad built in South Mumbai that is valued at around $1 billion, making it the most expensive private residential property on the planet. The 27-story property, called Antilia, and its unique design have been a part of the Mumbai skyline since being completed in 2010. The extravagant home's location in a destitute area of Mumbai is extremely controversial. The property has 6 floors of underground parking, 3 helipads, and a total interior space of over 400,000 square feet. The crib also features 9 high-speed elevators, a 2-story health center, and 6 floors for Ambani and his family. An entire floor is dedicated to servicing Ambani's stable of cars.
Hello and welcome to another property news update. We've got 2 guests for you today. I'll tell you why in just a moment and who they are. But the stories we're going to cover today: the mud house that took 5 years to build, the future of property is female. 2 males talking about that. That's going to be interesting. The outlook, the Outback Sound Chapel, the long road ahead for Perth, and almost 170 years and it's still going strong. As well as that, we'll get our 2 classic building stuff-ups, and also why women live longer than men. Staggering this week. Back in just a moment.
Did you know you can save up to 70% on your staff costs by outsourcing the low-value, repeatable tasks so your team can focus on growing your business? Beepo is an outsourcing provider focused on the real estate industry. With an English-speaking, tertiary qualified and fully trained team in the Philippines, Beepo will give your business the boost it needs to start growing and returning value to you. For more information, visit beepo.com.au.
And joining me once again, Kieran Clair from Bricks and Mortar Media. G'day, Kieran.
G'day, sir. How you going?
Very well, thank you. And we're delighted to have back in as another guest for us since November last year. Naomi Findlay. G'day, Naomi. How you doing?
I'm great, Kevin. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good. And would you believe it was November last year, Kieran, that you and I were talking to Naomi? It's just, where does time go?
The show's been going down.
Yeah.
It's been going downhill ever since, I've noticed, Kevin. So it's good to have you.
Oh, you're a funny man.
I love your work.
You're a funny man. Well, we'll tell you why in just a moment. Naomi, well, it's always a pleasure to have her anyway, but there's a particular reason, and we'll tell you why in just a moment. Hey, our first story today comes from Domain, the mud house that took 5 years to build. Naomi, the series with Kevin McLeod, Grand Designs UK,
Yes.
a fabulous show, just love it. And this is one of the ones that was revisited. Did you see the original?
I didn't see the original. I did see the revisited, and I'm 100% with Kevin. I just find this one mind-boggling from the perspective of how much it showcases what we can do with natural materials. You know, there's no need for straight lines. There's no need for limitations. This guy literally had no budget, no constraints, no wife at the end. And he built this amazing, amazing place.
Did you say no wife? Did you say no wife?
Yes.
Well, I mean, what's a wife got to do with it? Do you think she gets in the way?
No, oh God, no. Them there are fighting words. No, but I was saying it was interesting because he literally had no constraints. He had no budget. He had no timelines.
wife.
from a designer's perspective. No wife by the end. I think he had a wife for a long time through it. But I just find it mind-blowing to see what we can do with natural form and natural material. So I did really enjoy that story.
You've done some renos in your time, Kieran. I mean, have you found a wife to be a hindrance? Come on.
I've found a wife to be a necessity, mate. I'm married to a very smart person who can stand in a kitchen and say, yeah, there's 600 mil. I need 700 mil. She's that sort of person in a reno. I have no idea. And the other thing too, seeing as we're going there, and I think this is factual, colours. Guys don't get colours the same way that women do. No. I can look at a white wall; it looks white. But is this true, Naomi? You would. I'm guessing with your experience.
We have an amazing group of male designers in our country that do get it, but a lot of the general population that maybe don't work in this space, I 100% agree. My husband, I actually had a chippy over the other day, and he said, "What colour decking are you putting down there?" And I said, "Oh, look, I really want it to go with the apricot door." And he went, "That's white." And I went, "Dude, it's apricot." And so I had to go get a piece of paper and hold it against the door. And I'm like, "That's a white piece of paper." He goes, "Oh, it's not white." And I went, "No." So I hear you. I do hear what you're saying, Kieran.
Oh, wonderful insight there from Naomi, and that's why it's a perfect segue into telling you about Real Estate Talk, which is coming out, our new show tomorrow, and we feature Naomi in that show as we announce the brand new show on Property TV, which is called The Reno Show, strangely enough, and it's starring Naomi, and yes. So, do you know when it's running on PTV? I think it starts next week. I think
June 11, I think, is the first one that's coming out, which is really exciting.
It is
because obviously I love what I do, and so to be able to share it with more and more people and have more and more fun, it's a gift. It's a beautiful thing.
It is, and we're so looking forward to it too. So watch out for that. That's going to be coming out from next week. As well, in Real Estate Talk, we're going to talk about verbal offers over properties, off-plan purchases, and how not to get screwed by a builder. It's written by a builder. It's a book. There, Naomi, you might want to see this book too. We preview that book. How nail your renovation without getting screwed. So, yeah, I just love the title. I thought it was great. So we talked to the authors of that. Yeah, very clever, very clever. Let's go to story number 2. This is on the back of ARAC, which was the big conference on the Gold Coast earlier this week. The future of property is female. More young women are becoming million-dollar earners despite the changing real estate market. I think it's changing because of women. Kieran, what do you think?
Yeah, look, I probably agree with you in that, Kevin. The rise of women in all sorts of professions has been an absolute boon to all sorts of professions. It's been a great aspect. I mean, the last 2 particularly awesome bosses, last 3 particularly awesome bosses I've had were women, one of them being Nicola McDougall.
Who is your partner now? Business
correct.
Partner, yes.
And, my business partner. And I thought it was good to, in this story, that they were talking about how there's no one approach to being successful in real estate. You know, that idea that you can be dealing in, and I went to the ARAC conference a couple of years ago and they were talking about this too, and it was a presentation from a female agent saying, you know, I don't sell much over 350,000 in my area, but it's about relationships. I've got the relationships. I've become an expert, and my commissions are as good as some of the $1 million agents.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what blows my mind with that article when I read it, though, and you just completely hit on it then, Kieran, is, you know, you had the one agent that was talking about, you know, connection is more important than commission for her, and it's about relationships, etc. You had the other agent, which was obviously a very different personality type, that was talking about high energy and they get me for my energy, and I get that. But that's still talking about the one thing, which is connection, realistically. And that, it mind blows me that the real estate industry are talking about how game-changing that is, when connection is the pillar of most business models and most success in business models. So I kind of feel a bit sorry for the industry that they're only just now picking up on the fact that connection is key, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not as in men, as in all agents. Connection is key.
we've probably moved very quickly away from, in real estate and other professions, the idea of the alpha male, the successful alpha male, kicking all the goals now. I mean, it's different people, different strokes, different folks, as they say, and there's room for everyone and every approach. I would have
it's
thought.
interesting, because I've been in real estate for quite a long time, and I spent a lot of time training as well. And some of the best performers I saw, even pre-2000, were women. And women who had, raised the kids and then decided they wanted to go and do something. They had wonderful ability to connect with people and understand and build empathy. And they were very, very successful. And that is still pretty much the case. So, there you go. Let's move to story number 3. This one comes from Commercial Real Estate, the Outback Sound Chapel. This is an interesting collaboration, somewhat unorthodox, between a composer and an award-winning architect using an old abandoned 10-metre high water tank. Look how rusty it is, but look what they're doing with it. Naomi?
Oh, look, it's quite inspiring. And when I was reading through that article, one, it was written beautifully well from my perspective, in the sense that you could literally visualize the effect that that's going to have on the surrounding countries. Like, you imagine laying out under our beautiful sky, listening to the acoustic quality that can be produced from a vessel like that. So I kind of love it. One of the things which, I am immersing myself in this year is a new project called Farms to Fortune, and it's all about, through property, helping people rediscover and fall back in love with our immense, amazing country. And so when I read this, I was just like, woo, this is awesome that, we have the most phenomenal country with phenomenal properties and elements like this water tank all around it. So I'm just super pumped. I'm pumped that it's happening. And it is ridiculously quirky.
Yeah, very quirky, and I think full marks to the composer who's behind it. I just forget his name. You might have written it down there,
George.
Kieran.
Yeah, George's Lentz.
George, yes. I wonder how they're going to struggle to get artists out there, though. It's like it's in the outback.
100%.
One of the interesting things too is when they talked about how some of the other regional areas have been doing this. Have you ever been out to Winton, either of you?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, the musical fence out at Winton. They've set up a fence where you can play music on it, and it's kind of part of within the nearness of the CBD of Winton, which is it's still a CBD.
Yes.
It's just a little smaller than most. But they've set up a fence. They've used reclaimed items to build a drum kit. And you actually sort of go to this paddock area with an old shed, and you can go out there with your kids and just belt away madly on it. But it's just one little quirky element that is a tourist feature for that area. So, this sort of thing can well and truly catch on.
I can see lots of film clips being filmed there.
Yeah, absolutely.
A really very cool film clip destination.
Yes, agreed.
Indeed. Hey, Naomi, I'm going to be fascinated with it. This is the new element we've brought into the show since you were on last time, and it's all about why women live longer than men. And believe me, we've got a lot of these photos to feature in the coming weeks. But have a look at this one. Literally what's happening here is two guys holding someone else by the feet while he gets down and paints in that pit. I mean, surely there'd be a better way to do that.
Like a long pole?
Yeah, like a long pole or a ladder, maybe.
Never work.
There's a whole. I have to give them cred for the effort that has been put in. There's some substantial effort going on there, and there's just a whole world of strength. But it just, as I mentioned to you earlier, Kevin, I was looking at it for ages going, what are they actually doing there? And why on earth would they do it? And for me, I'm just imagining what the other two people could have been doing with their time if they weren't holding the guy up.
I tell you what, you'd have to trust them. The guy in the pit would have to trust those two guys up top.
I have to look. I have to beg to. I have to cut in, Naomi. I have to beg to differ. As I say each week, Kevin, this is just another practical approach to a difficult situation that the blokes have taken on. And what I do applaud is I applaud their approach to safety, because if you look closely, they have removed his shoes before they have gripped his ankle.
They don't slip off. So they don't slip off.
So I say bravo, fellows, bravo.
Yeah. And the guy on
the
guy on the left there's crouching too, which is the correct way to lift things. The other guy is going to hurt his back.
you two attempting to justify this
absolutely.
ridiculousness.
I reckon there's
the guy on the
boots too.
the guy on the right's wearing safety gear as well. Look, the green shirt. Full on here.
What about the guy in the pit?
Yeah.
Well, everyone else is rushing around looking for a ladder. This bloke's getting it done.
Getting it done. That's right.
You are the king of reframing.
Yeah, the king of spin. We're going to take a quick break, come back in just a moment, and we will tell you about the long road ahead for Perth and lots of other stories as well. And don't forget our building stuff upcoming later in the show too. Back in just a moment. Welcome back to the show, story number 4, and my co-hosts Kieran, Clair from Bricks and Mortar Media, and the lovely Naomi Findlay, who is the star of the new show on Property TV, which starts this week, called The Reno Show, with Naomi Findlay and a great lineup. Okay, story number 4. This one comes from Farm Weekly. The long road ahead for Perth. Perth property market. We've seen a few highs and lows, Kieran. We've reported on this in the past, but even though there's been an improvement, they're saying it's going to take a long time to claw it all back.
Yeah, and I guess shouldn't be too much of a surprise. It's the quarterly data report that comes out from the real estate institutes. This one, of course, the one in Western Australia, which is showing that there's a little less population growth for the last quarter, and prices, although prices have gone up a little, sales activity decreased by about 10%. Look, in defence, I would say quarterly data is an interesting measure to use statistically. You kind of need to track trends probably a bit longer than that to see how things are going. And it would be safe to say a lot of this would have been analysed and occurring prior to, the recent election, changes in finance, all those sorts of things. So you've got to let it all play out a little bit more. Having said all that, Perth has got to come off a pretty dire situation from its property cycle. And so you'd expect some long-term growth to come along. But my hope for the Perth people is that this is a bit of an anomaly that's maybe just a little bit ahead of its time at this stage.
Naomi, you got a view on that?
I think that was unbelievably well said, Kieran. I had my PhD head on last night when I was reading those stats, and I was kind of like, I get it, but they are quarterly and they would have been analysed and collected pre-election. And, I do agree that I want to see Perth beautifully and substantially and steadily rise and give them some relief over there. But I don't want I don't want people throwing babies and bathwaters out with this one quarterly snapshot, which, as you mentioned, and I 100% agree, the power in that sort of sample of stats shouldn't be anything that baby and bathwater go out with.
Yes, indeed. Okay, well spoken by both of you. I'm just going to sit back now and take my economist's hat off. And
High five, you and I, Kieran.
Oh, yeah, I reckon you guys have hit it. Yeah. There you go. Okay, story number 5. This one comes from the top 10 real estate deals, almost 170 years and still strong. Intro the music. I want to play some music here because Prince of Tides. Let's bring that music in now as we talk. Let it establish. I came across this term. You probably know what it is, Kieran, the antebellum era. You've heard of the antebellum era? Yes? You would have researched
I'm right across the Eddie here. In fact, I googled the same Wikipedia entry that you did, Kevin.
Yeah, did you see
and read through it, realised we'd written the same thing in our description. So let's not leave it to memory. It's a period in the history of the southern United States from the 18th century until the start of the American Civil War in 1861, and I dig this house. I reckon it's really cool. And you know what I dig most about it?
Wow.
That it was the headquarters of General Rufus Saxton during the Civil War. And it'll cost you $2.395 million.
Oh, you're not even good at the American accent. Come on.
Done. Oh my gosh.
You give it a go. It's not that easy.
Oh gosh, no. I'm making
Runs the Beaufort River in South Carolina.
Well, hey, I wanted to mention too that it was featured in the film Prince of Tides. Did you see Prince of Tides, Naomi?
Oh, you know what? I am a massive offender of watching very little TV for recreation. So no, I haven't seen that one. Is it one that I should see?
It is one that you should see, and the music is absolutely magnificent. I fell in love with the music more so than the movie, but it's a fairly old movie now. But yeah, it's a good one. I like it. I thought it was good.
No, I mean, I noticed that their accents weren't very good in the film. So when you see it, just give them a little leeway.
Yeah. Okay? Well,
all right, I'll just tone down my accent critique.
Yeah.
Good idea.
What an incredible home, though. 160 years old. It's almost 170. I think when I did the sums, it's about 167 years old. So that's quite remarkable.
Beautiful.
Hey, we're going to go out and our building stuff up. This is another feature in the show, Naomi, that this wall could only have been built by a male. A woman would never have planned this. But look, you wonder what came first, whether it was the wall or the seats. I'd like to think it was the seats.
You know what's funny is I have to give cred to people that actually create these things. So I'm reframing here, Kieran, because their mind must work in a marvelously different way.
Yep.
And that's pretty much all I can say about that is that, you have to at these points go, wow, there is a really different type of thinker that thought to create that. And I think that's where I'm at.
Yeah, but I think they missed an opportunity here. I do think they could have knocked a few blocks out and put some windows in.
Yes! Yes, I
you agree? Yep, yeah.
I thought the same thing.
Yep.
How neat would that be?
Yes, indeed. and they could have sold them as a premium. Like, do you want a window seat or do you want a block wall seat? Which do you want?
You have to upgrade for that. You have to upgrade,
exactly, yeah. Hey, guys, it's been fantastic. We are out of time. Naomi, looking so forward to seeing your new show on Property TV coming up this week. The 11th, isn't it? The 11th of June.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And lots more to come too. The wonderful Naomi Findlay and the brilliant Kieran Clair from Bricks and Mortar Media. Thank you, guys. Great catching up, and we'll catch up again soon.
It's a pleasure.
Good on you.
See you guys.
Thanks, man.
See you guys. Watch out for Real Estate Talk. It's out tomorrow, and my chat with Naomi Findlay in that show as well. See you next week.
With demand for luxury residential apartments in Manhattan increasing, and a severe lack of land available for development, we've seen the rise of super slender skyscrapers across the city skyline. While this trend originated and first became identifiable in New York through structures like 432 Park Avenue and 53 West 53rd Street, the phenomenon is no longer limited to the city and is beginning to have global repercussions. Around the world, developers are now striving to maximize floor areas and value from small sites by employing the super slender high-rise technique. But while such an approach does improve return on investment, the limited site access and additional engineering associated with building these towers makes them much more expensive to develop. Now in Australia, contractor Hickory Group have pioneered a construction method that uses prefabricated modules to improve quality, streamline the building process, and reduce overall construction costs. While the projects using this method have so far been modest in comparison to the super tall giants of New York City, Hickory are about to take their prefabricated building method to new heights, in the form of Australia's most slender skyscraper, the 60-storey Collins House in Melbourne. Collins House is located in the heart of Melbourne, on the city's prestigious Collins Street. Famed for its historic streetscape and home to some of the country's tallest buildings, Collins Street and Melbourne as a whole is in the midst of a high-rise building boom, the likes of which Australia has never seen. With soaring demand for high-rise living and commercial vacancies at an all-time low, at least 20 skyscrapers are currently under construction, including the city's tallest building, the 317-metre Australia 108. The demand has driven land values to record highs, with a modest site just a block from Collins House recently selling for over 140 million Australian dollars. Now, developers are pushing engineering to the extreme in order to make the most of the small parcels of land they are able to acquire. The Collins House site is a mere 12.5 metres wide. Fronting the bustling Collins Street, and with occupied commercial buildings on either side, developers' golden age had no choice but to build upward in order to maximise floor area. As part of the development, air rights were purchased from an adjoining building along the eastern boundary, allowing architects Bates Smart to design a 4.5 metre cantilever over the neighbouring property and increase the size of each floor by some 35% from the 14th storey upwards. With only one access point to the site, manoeuvring plant, materials and other equipment during construction was always going to be a struggle. While the first 14 storeys of the tower are constructed from concrete, Hickory's prefabricated structural units form the remainder of the skyscraper's height. The use of prefabricated techniques has had a remarkable impact on the quality, speed, and level of safety on the Collins House scheme. With the majority of components assembled off-site and craned into place within an hour of delivery, the project's programme has been reduced by 30%. These prefabricated modules also reduce the extent of external safety screens and barriers required, as the building is enclosed once the module is in place. Being assembled off-site under controlled factory conditions allowed the modules to be inspected and any defects rectified prior to delivery, drastically improving the quality of the finished product and further reducing downtime on site. Offering 271 luxury apartments across its 60 floors, as well as a host of residential amenities, Hickory's modular system provided a more flexible floor plate that can be adapted across the levels, depending on the intended use of each space. Currently rising toward its 190-metre total height, Collins House will become one of the tallest prefabricated buildings in the world when it completes in 2019. While Collins House is some way off the 426-metre height of New York's 432 Park Avenue, the slenderness ratio of the two structures is almost the same, at 1:16 and 1:15 respectively, making Collins House a powerful case study for the prefabrication of other super slender towers around the world. With developers and contractors constantly searching for new ways to reduce building costs, keep standards high, and speed up construction, the success of pioneering methods like this, and on a building like Collins House, could set new benchmarks for the industry in the years ahead.